Yes, welcome to Dance Education Consult. Now, welcome to our classroom. Remember that we have a Facebook page called the Classroom, where you can also learn a lot of things from that class. If you want to know more about grammatical names and functions, if you want to know more about English generally, please join us in that group. And also, apart from that, we have a WhatsApp group. Now, you can reach me personally if you are interested in being a part of that WhatsApp group. Because in that WhatsApp group, you can ask questions. You can ask me questions directly. And then don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channels. Because apart from this, we have many other things to offer you. Now, we are talking about grammatical names and functions. Remember, now first class, I made us understand that when the examiner is asking you of grammatical names and functions, what it's actually asking is the noun phrase or clause, verbial phrase or clause, then adverb phrase or clause, preposition phrase or clause, verb phrase or verb phrase, then adjectival word phrase or clause. Now, and we also told us in our first lesson that a phrase, the difference between a phrase and the clause is that a phrase does not have a finite verb. Now today we want to see examples of noun phrases or clause. We want to look at past questions and then try to identify noun phrase and then noun word clauses. Now, like I made us understand that a phrase does not have a finite verb. And I told us what the finite verb is. A finite verb has a person distinction, can be used to signify tense. And then I told us that the to infinitive, that is to and verb going together, like to eat, to sing. They are not finite verb. And then we have something like even the ed to eating, not a finite verb. And then we have the ing form, the gerund, is not a finite verb. So wherever you see a particular word starting with ing, gerund, you know that it's a noun phrase or a noun clause. A noun phrase could be a noun phrase or a noun clause. And then wherever you see, if the group of words you are asked to identify start with an article like D, THE, or A, definite article D, and indefinite article A, it's likely going to be a noun phrase, nominal, a noun phrase or a clause, depending whether there is a verb there, a finite verb there or not. Now I have we did an app. You can go online, go to Amazon App Store. We have an app there called Mr. Grammatic. In fact, we actually have two apps, Mr. Grammatic 1 and Mr. Grammatic 2. So Mr. Grammatic 2 is an improvement of Mr. Grammatic 1. In that app, it can help you to identify noun clause, or that is, it can help you to identify these grammatical names and functions. Grammatical names, yes. If you are not able to reach us, and the app is just little, and the cost is just small, something minimal. So just to encourage us, so go to Amazon App Store and then get that app, Mr. Grammatic 2. Get it, and it will help you to identify. We just build that app because of our students. So go there and then buy that app. It's helpful. Now today we are in lesson 2. We are looking at examples of noun phrase or clause. Now these questions we brought them out from past questions. We brought them. These are past questions examination. The first one, if you have WASC 1995, June 1995, WASC June 1995. There's a question. They say, as he went to bed late in the evening after a meeting with his younger brothers on how on how yes on how he will pay his own share of their father's medical expenses. He prayed for the early arrival. He prayed for the early arrival of the morning. He prayed for the early arrival of the morning. He prayed for the early arrival of the morning. Now, if you look at it, it's a very long sentence, and that sentence has a lot of combination of subordinate and main clauses. It said, as he went to bed late in the evening after a meeting with his. Now, as he went to bed late in the evening, that is a clause. After a meeting with his young brothers on how he will pay his own share of their father's medical expenses, as another clause. Then he prayed. He prayed for the early arrival of the morning. So he prayed for something. Now the underlying word there is early, the early arrival of the morning. He prayed for the early arrival of the morning. The early, that is the underlying word, the early arrival of the morning. Now if you look at the last clause, he prayed for the early arrival of the morning. Now, like I said, now phrase or clause, you can identify it graphically. You can identify it. You always start with the, an article. Is a noun. Start with an article, the or a, or the ing. You see, so or even the ed2 as past participle, or the to infinitive. So in this sentence now, the early arrival of the morning is a noun what? Is a noun phrase. The early arrival of the morning, because there's no clause there. The early, he prayed for something. He prayed. He is the subject of that clause. He prayed. Prayed is what? He prayed for. He prayed is what? In the verb. You see? For. I didn't mean the for was added, but for was not added. He prayed for something. Pray for the early arrival. So he prayed for something. So we said that a noun is the name of anything. So the early arrival of morning is a noun phrase. So go to WASC June 1995. Then number 2. He said from the way these two identical counts launch verbal attacks on each other, one will assume they do not have anything in common. From the way these two ideological camps launch verbal attacks on each other, one will assume they do not have anything in common. From the way these two ideological camps launch verbal attacks on each other, one would assume they do not have one will assume that they do not have anything in common. So, he said the underlying word there is one would assume they do not have anything in common. So that is the underlying word there. They do not have anything in common. That is WASC 1993. Why 1993? They do not have. So that word they also it's a noun phrase also. They do not have, but because of have there, they do not have anything in common. That is a noun clause. One would assume something. One. Now, if you look at that sentence, it has two clauses. From the way the two identical can launch verbal attacks on each other, that is a clause. Then the other clause, one would. So one is the word subject, is the subject of the verb. One would, the verb, assume, would assume. That is the verb phrase would assume something. They do not have anything common. So that they do not have anything common is what? A noun clause. It's a noun clause and is the object of the verb would assume. Is the object. Is the object. The first one, we did not talk about the function. He prayed for the early. He prayed for something. The early arrival. He prayed. That one is also object. Object of the verb prayed. Pray for. Yes. Pray for. The early arrival. So it's also an object. So they pray for something. This one, say one would assume. One would assume something. Assume. Would assume is the verb. They do not have anything in common. So that one is also a noun clause and is functioning as the object of that clause. Object of the verb. Then the number 3. He reasoned that leaving his retinue of wives. He reasoned that leaving his retinue of wives, servants and relatives behind was not the best solution. That is 1993, WASC also 1993. He reasoned something. He reasoned something that. Now the underlying word start from leaving his retinue of wives, servants and relatives. You see, that is the underlying word, behind. Yes, behind, up to behind, leaving his retinue of wives, servants, and relatives behind. So he reasoned something. See that? He reasoned something. So what reason that? Leaving his retinue of wives. So that leaving his retinue of wives is a noun word. It's a noun phrase. Remember that leaving is a gerund there. So that's not the final verb. So leaving his retinue of wives, servants, and relatives behind. So there is no final verb there. So was is the verb. Was not the word, the best solution. So he reasoned something. So he reasoned something. That is the object of reason. He reasoned that living is the object. Is the object. Or you can say it's the object of the relative relative noun that. Relative noun that is the object of the relative noun that living his retinue of wives, servants, and relatives behind was not the best solution. So if you check your 1993 WASC, that is the question that was asked. And then number 4, that is D. And what was even more unfortunate was that the millions in Amusa's shoe became wiser only when it was too late. As if you look at your WASC 2000, that question is there. They ask what is the grammatical name. The word starts from and what was even more unfortunate. That is the underlying word. And what was even more unfortunate. That something was unfortunate. So, and what was even more unfortunate was, then that is the complement. That is referring back to what is unfortunate. So, and what was even more unfortunate is what is also a what? A phrase. And what was, okay, there is was there. So it's a clause. It's a noun word clause. And what was even more unfortunate. So it's a noun clause. It's a nominal clause. So, and it's the subject of the verb was. You see, so that the meaning of Amusa shoe is a complement of what was even more unfortunate. So, you see, so that is what a noun word phrase. Noun clause is a noun clause. Now, how do you identify this noun clause? Noun phrase or clause most times starts the sentence. It's always at the beginning of the sentence or after the verb, as either as the subject, like this one now is the subject, or as the object of the sentence. And then you always see this article D. Most times it starts with D and A, or the gerund, living, ing form, and then they move to infinitive. So that is how you identify nominal word, phrases, or clause. Nominal or phrases or clause. I remember I told you that there is an app that we developed called Mr. Grammatic. You just enter the underlying word and send it. It will give you the answer. It will give you the grammatical name. So go to Amazon App Store and look for Mr. Grammatic. By Widans Education Consult. So this is our lesson 2. Remember I told you that we have a WhatsApp group. You can reach me directly through that WhatsApp group. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channels because we have much to give. We have much to give. God bless you, and then have a wonderful day. Bye.